Hi everyone, it's Katrina. Sometimes sound recorders pick up unexpected noises that are pretty strange. From the loneliest whale to the creepiest radio station on the planet, here are 8 of the strangest and most mysterious sounds in the world. Number 8. The Bloop. In 1997, researchers for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration captured a loud and unusual sound in the southern Pacific while listening for underwater volcanic activity. They recorded the distinct sound numerous times using underwater microphones called hydrophones, which were placed over 2,000 miles apart. It consisted of deep rumbles unlike anything they'd ever heard before. Here is the famous bloop sound. Scientists from NOAA's Pacific Marine Environmental Laboratory were tasked with pinpointing the sound's origin. It was a complicated mission, considering that 95% of the world's oceans remain unexplored to this day. While they tried to figure out the source of the strange noise, numerous theories developed, including the possibilities of unknown sea creatures, ship engines, underwater military exercises, giant squids, and whales being responsible for the sound. People were most excited about it possibly being evidence of a prehistoric creature that lived deep, deep down that we just hadn't seen before. Finally, in 2005, researchers discovered the bloop's origin near Antarctica as part of an effort to learn more about the sounds of seafloor earthquakes and volcanoes. They realized that the sound was coming from an iceberg. The bloop noise comes from an iceberg cracking and breaking away from an Antarctic glacier, a phenomenon known as an icequake. Unfortunately, the bloop is predicted to become a more frequent occurrence thanks to global warming. Number 7. What's in the Mariana Trench? At nearly 7 miles beneath the ocean's surface, the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench is the deepest place on Earth. In 2014, scientists recorded a collection of bizarre sounds from within the Challenger Deep using autonomous underwater acoustic machines. The sounds ranged from rumbles measuring as low as 30 Hz to metallic screeching to the tune of 8,000 Hz. Researchers called the series of noises the Western Pacific Biotwang. They sound like this. A mixture of man-made and natural activities may contribute to the array of eerie sounds, but the most likely culprit is a species of baleen whale called the dwarf minke whale. Marine bioacoustics expert Sharon Newkirk admitted that the calls are unlike those of any other baleen whales, and there are unanswered questions. That'd be a cool job, a marine bioacoustics expert. For one, the calls are heard year-round, which suggests that they aren't just used for mating. To figure out the reasons for the call and how widely it's dispersed, scientists will have to learn more about the elusive minke whale, a deep-sea dweller that swims in areas where sightings are difficult due to the high seas. Number 6. Aquatic Choirs. Every day at dawn and dusk, fish throughout the ocean call out repetitively. The combined sounds of these soloist fish form a choir of sorts. Researchers from Curtin University in Perth, Australia recorded the choruses over an 18-month period in 2016 near the Port Hedland shore. They identified 7 different singing voices, including the black-spotted croaker's low foghorn call, the pteropontid's grunting, and the ba-ba-ba of the blackfish. Lol, ba-ba of the blackfish. Get it? Here you can listen for yourself, and then tell me what you think in the comments below. Fish use calls for various purposes such as hunting, reproduction, feeding, and territorial disputes. Marine biologist Steve Simpson of the University of Exeter, UK, compares the punctual sounds to those of birds in the forest. By measuring the sounds using sea noise loggers, scientists are able to access the deep sea and monitor fish and their ecosystems in ways that scuba divers can't, especially in waters with low visibility. Study leader Robert McCauley said, "I've been listening to fish squawks, burble, and pops for nearly 30 years now, and they still amaze me with their variety." Number 5. The hum. In numerous and seemingly random places throughout the world, many people detect a steady droning sound known as the hum, often describing it as sounding like a diesel engine idling nearby, kind of like this. There have been several scientific investigations into the noise, but nobody has determined what causes it where it comes from, and why it only affects a small percentage of the population. People who had never heard any unusual noises before began reporting the hum during the 1950s, describing it as an annoying, low-frequency throbbing or rumbling. The hum seems to be louder at night and is most common in rural and suburban settings, which makes sense given the steady flow of background noise in crowded cities. Most of the 2% of people who pick up on the hum in any given affected area are between ages 55 and 70, according to a 2003 survey. They're driven to despair by the constant rumbling, which isn't just irritating in their daily lives, but also interferes with their sleep. On top of being written off as crazy by people who don't hear the hum, they experience symptoms such as headaches, nausea, dizziness, and nosebleeds. The phenomenon was first reported in Bristol, England during the 1970s, when around 800 residents complained of hearing an ongoing throbbing noise. Since then, the hum has appeared in Taos, New Mexico, Windsor, Ontario, and the seaside Australian area of Bondi, just to name a few. Experts are thus far unable to detect or record the sound in most cases, making the situation all the more bizarre. But to those who suffer from the hum, it's very real, and it's had a tremendously detrimental impact on their lives. And to their credit, researchers haven't written off the experience as mass hysteria. They're simply still trying to figure it out. Most sufferers have perfectly normal hearing and aren't suffering from an artificial ringing in their ears, such as tinnitus, suggesting that there is an attributable source for the perceived noise. One possibility is that certain people somehow pick up on low frequencies that are outside the normal human hearing range. Can you hear the hum? Let me know in the comments below. Even radio signals can elicit an auditory response in humans known as the microwave auditory effect. Apparently, the Pentagon has been looking into it as a sonic weapon. Number 4. The loneliest whale in the world. In 1989, scientists detected the call of the world's loneliest whale. Based on the sound's patterns, they identified it as a blue whale at first, but things didn't add up. The whale was calling at an unusually high frequency of 52 Hz, or in terms of human hearing, the equivalent of a low bass note, barely higher than the lowest note on a tuba. Here's the sound of the whale. Scientists initially speculated that the whale was calling out at such a high frequency because it couldn't communicate with other blue whales, who normally vocalize in frequencies between 10 and 40 Hz. Researchers tracked the whale for over 24 years and realized its calls resemble neither fin nor blue whales, as they are much shorter and more frequent than the calls of both species. They also noticed that the whale travels to the Pacific Ocean every year, arriving sometime between August and December, and leaves during January or February. The whale has been detected as far north as the Aleutian Islands and as far south as the California coast. Its strangely high-pitched call does not seem to negatively affect its survival, regardless of what causes the sound. Scientists believe the whale is healthy, but have only discovered one such unique call, and for this reason, the whale retains its reputation as the loneliest of its kind on Earth. Number 3. UVB-76. Nicknamed the Buzzer, UVB-76 is a shortwave radio station located in Russia, which broadcasts on the frequency 4625 kHz. All day and night, it plays a low-frequency, monotonous buzzing tone, which repeats 25 times per minute. A voice transmission in Russian occasionally interrupts the signal. Avid listeners of the station suspect that these transmissions are coded messages. Sometimes the signal is disrupted due to what seems to be technological issues. The creepy radio station was first discovered in 1973 and went by the name UVB-76 until 2010, when it moved its headquarters. Around that time, numerous unexplainable interruptions occurred, including the sound of a woman screaming and bits of Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake. Since relocating, the station has used numerous different and seemingly ever-changing call signs. Photographs of the buzzer's pre-2010 location surfaced online after the station relocated and depict a decrepit, outdated facility that looks time-worn but hardly used. People have understandably drawn their own conclusions regarding the radio station's purpose, ranging from coded military messages to weather research, but nobody knows for sure what the buzzer is or why it exists, and the Russian government has not confirmed its existence. Number 2. Sounds of the Northern Lights. Did you know that the Northern Lights are not only beautiful to look at, but also make noise? Aurora borealis, or the northern lights, make strange ephemeral sounds, especially on extremely clear nights. The noises resemble fizzling, cracking, and popping from overhead, and until recently, scientists had no explanation for them. Listen to the noise and tell me what you think in the comments. In late 2016, Finnish acoustician Unto K. Lane concluded that the aurora sounds are caused by sparks of discharging electricity in an atmospheric layer that forms in particularly calm weather, and which also corresponds with magnetic pulses. He spent 15 years observing the phenomenon to figure this out, after first experiencing it with a group of friends in the far north of Finland and feeling compelled to understand it. Lane's research was slow going, especially since there was a lull in intense aurora activity between 2004 and 2007, but his patience eventually paid off. He was the first scientist to record the aurora sounds, and he may also be the first to explain them should his theory check out. Number 1. Moon music. In 1969, the astronauts aboard the Apollo 10 mission discussed hearing outer space-like music, leading some people to believe that they were experiencing extraterrestrial sounds. NASA eventually released tapes of the conversation between the astronauts, during which the strange whistling noise can be heard in the background. At some point, the astronauts debate whether to tell NASA controllers about the sound. Here's a short clip.
That music even sounds outer spacey, doesn't it? You hear that? That whistling sound? Yeah. Look at your... Yeah, it sounds like, outer space type music.
The astronauts were over the far side of the moon at the time, meaning they were facing away from and out of contact with Earth for a predicted 1-hour time span. As ominous as the situation may seem, and unfortunately for those with big imaginations, the freakish noise boils down to a very simple explanation. The command module the astronauts were riding in encountered radio interference due to the nearby lunar module. The sounds didn't become a big deal to the American public until early 2016, when the Science Channel show NASA's Unexplained Files aired an episode about the so-called moon music. Not surprisingly, the show depicted the occurrence as arguably more serious and alarming than it actually was. I mean, the astronauts were pretty worried, even emphasizing the fact that the astronauts were on the far side of the moon during the incident and experiencing an expected lull in communications with Earth. Yes, the astronauts were confused by the noise, of course, and yes, the noise was strange, but there was a perfectly logical explanation for it. Thanks for watching! Which sound did you like the most? My favorite, but the saddest, is the loneliest whale. Would you like to learn more about mysterious sounds? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time! Bye!